Hello, everybody. Welcome to this coming episode. In this episode, I'm going to be going over extractions and what can happen when if you don't do anything after an extraction. What are the benefits of it, and what are the negatives of getting an extraction? So, like always, I'm not a dentist. All I have is just many years of experience handling patients with the doctors, helping and teaching them what are things that might have got them into the situation that they are with what the dentist has found, how to prevent it from happening, and how to make it better and make it easier for their life and after the procedures are done. So without further ado, extractions. Um, so what is an extraction? An extraction is very simple. Is when a tooth gets pulled out from the jaw bone. So what holds your teeth is your jaw, and then what protects your jaw is your gums. And whenever you remove a tooth, you're essentially ripping it out of the jawbone, which is why extractions um, have different. If there could be different effects to when you get an extraction. I've seen people, although very rarely, they get black and blues on their jawbone area where the extraction was performed. It's very rare, but it can happen. It doesn't mean anything. It's just that the area is injured, and that's all. Um, to prolong pain or no pain whatsoever after the extraction is done. Everybody is different when it comes to their experiences, but for the most part, it's normally about 24 hours before everything settles down. It does not mean that the area is entirely cured, because it does take about 3 to 6 months for the area to entirely heal. Not the gums per se. The gums do heal really fast. The gums are actually one of the fastest healing parts of the body. Um, but the jawbone does take a very long time because you do have a hole there where the tooth was, and that area has to fill up with bone again, and that takes anywhere between 3 to 6 months, depending on the individual. But with extractions, there obviously the one benefit to an extraction is that most times when you get it is because you're in some sort of pain, and getting an extraction obviously removes that pain because that tooth might be infected, or it could have been so broken that the nerve is exposed, and now you just have continuous pain that just won't go away. So it gets rid of that. Those are the two benefits. If you have a wisdom tooth extraction, and this is because the doctor recommends it more often than not, probably 100% of the time actually, or I'll say 99.9% of the time, though I cannot think of any other reason other than that. When you get a wisdom tooth extraction, it's mostly because it doesn't fit in your mouth, and it's causing problems with the rest of your teeth. So normally when you get your wisdom teeth, you get them at a later time in your life, normally between the ages of 18 and 26. But I have seen children that have had their wisdom teeth start to erupt. As I think the youngest person I saw, actually, which was I believe this year or last year, was 12 years old, and I was surprised. Actually, no, it was younger than that. I think the child was 10 years old, and it was very surprising because I saw on the X-ray all their wisdom teeth, and I had to actually look again because I was in shock at the fact that their wisdom teeth were already coming out. But it can happen. It's not a common thing. It's very, very rare, but it can happen. With the mouth, anything can really happen. So when a doctor recommends getting a wisdom tooth extraction, again, like I said, it's mostly because they want to prevent the crowding of teeth, especially if they don't fit in your mouth. And in most occasions, for most people, they don't fit in their mouth. So that would be a reason for why they would recommend removing it. And when that is done, even though you're not in pain and stuff, but when it is done, it prevents crowding. And when you prevent crowding, you prevent things like maybe needing to get aligners, maybe future fillings, future root canals, even as bad as your teeth actually cracking under the pressure of being so crowded with each other. And you can even have an effect with TMJ. So there are a lot of things where removing wisdom teeth, especially at a younger age, and if the doctor noticed that they're not going to fit you in your mouth, removing it at the younger age prevents a lot of these things, which is one, alleviating to yourself because you're preventing yourself from potentially spending many days or going many times to the dentist, and preventing a lot of pain, as well as spending less money because now you don't have to go to do a lot of these simple or even more expensive procedures. So that's one of the reasons for why. Well, it's probably the primary reason for why a dentist would suggest getting an extraction on a wisdom tooth, um, outside of being in pain. Now, the only teeth in the mouth that a dentist is okay with extracting without a second thought, um, obviously given, with the exception of a tooth already being too far gone where there is no other choice other than to extract it, is the wisdom tooth. And the reason why is for what I said before is because normally it doesn't fit in your mouth, and it doesn't really cause your mouth any harm for when you do get those teeth extracted. But other than that, it's really not beneficial at all to remove a tooth. More often than not, it is a lot better to save the tooth. Again, if a tooth is too deteriorated, or if it broke in a really bad location, where it's just not savable, then at that point there's nothing that really can be done other than just extracting the tooth. At least not now. There might be a technology later in the future where we can be able to save the tooth in those situations. But as of right now, it's not possible. So in those situations, you just don't have a choice, and then you have to go into getting alternate treatment to prevent that area from getting worse. So implants, bridges, partials, like I spoke in prior episodes. So, but what happens when you get an extraction and you don't do anything? There are a lot of people that pretty much already know the answer to that, not because they've researched it, but because it's personal experience to them. Your teeth in your mouth start to shift. So all your teeth in your mouth are always moving. Always. The reason why they stop moving is because they're all erupted. They're all out, and they're next to each other, so they don't have any space to move. So they stay in the location that they are. But as soon as you extract the tooth outside of the wisdom teeth, then they start shifting again. They start moving, and they don't move in the most adequate positions. So again, this is something that a lot of people who have had extractions have already witnessed, that they felt it in their mouth. They've noticed that their teeth are moving, and that's what's happening. That has nothing to do with science or religion or anything. It's just something that happens in your mouth, just like breathing. Your body just does it. You don't have to think about it. Your teeth in your mouth just start moving. You don't have to do anything, and that's just what happens. When that happens, the teeth, when they shift, for example, your molar teeth tend to want to shift forward, and your front teeth tend to want to shift back. So if you see somebody who is of older age, normally, 'cause it doesn't really happen with the younger, but if they're normally normal, they don't have, I'm sorry, I repeat that part. Normally, you see the shifting of teeth in the front for people that are older, and the reason why is because in most times, when they go to the dentist, they're already missing most of their molar teeth, because a lot of people tend to easily extract their molars and save their front, because like I said before, everyone wants to look good, and you can see the front 6 teeth on the top and bottom, but you can't really see so much the back teeth. But that causes a problem, and it's called separation. So what happens is that your teeth start spacing out, because your front teeth tend to want to move back when you don't have any molars or any teeth preventing them from moving to the back. So normally you'll see this with older people, where you'll notice that their teeth are a lot more separated. More often than not, unless they needed aligners, it's probably because they're missing their molar teeth. People that are missing, let's say they're bicuspids, they're premolars, or more in the front, or they're missing just another molar, because you have 3 molars. You have your wisdom teeth, and then you have 2 other molars. So if you're missing any one of the other molars, and the molars that are next to them, they start to shift forward, and they don't move in a straight line. They shift, like they fall down, kind of like a tree falling. So, and that's not ideal, because what happens is that the gums don't move out of the way. They stay in the way they are. They accumulate in the area. It makes it harder for you to clean those areas. So because you can't clean those areas really well, you tend to get more cavities. You tend to need to get a root canal, or you're just going to extract the tooth. Then you lose that tooth. Then the teeth on the opposite, so it doesn't matter if it's in the top or in the bottom. So if you lose your teeth in the top, your bottom teeth, if there is no support, tends to raise up. If you lose a bottom tooth, then the top tooth tends to drop down. That's something that's also normal, because they want to move. Your tooth, when it moves, it starts to fall down, kind of like a tree falling down. Your teeth do that, and they do it both in the top and the bottom. It doesn't really matter. And in addition to that, what happens is that tooth starts, you get a cavity, you might need a root canal, you start getting extracted. And then when you get that tooth extracted, now you're missing more teeth. So what happens is that in the opposite direction. Doesn't matter if you get a tooth extracted from the top and there's nothing supporting it in the bottom, so your opposite tooth, the bottom tooth starts to shift up. And if it's the opposite direction where you extract the bottom one, then the top tooth tends to shift. It starts to fall down. That's just something that happens because teeth are always moving. So what happens in those situations? That tooth starts to bother you because the bottom part of the tooth is more sensitive. So then you start feeling pain, and they tell you brush your teeth with Sensodyne to remove the sensitivity. Eventually, the tooth gets so weak because it's falling out that you have to get it extracted, and then you fall into the same situation again, where the teeth that are next to it start to move around, they start to collapse, they get into, and so on and so forth. It starts this domino effect where you start losing all your teeth, and it literally starts from the extraction of just one tooth outside of your wisdom teeth. I've seen it every single time. It is not a maybe. It is not a hopefully not. No, there's no if. It's just when. And when is very, very, very random because every person is different. I've seen people that have gotten extractions and they got it done 5 years ago and the teeth have not shifted at all. I have seen people that have gotten an extraction within 6 months and all the teeth start shifting immediately. Every person is different, but again, what I can tell you is that they will shift. When? It's not possible for me to know, but it will happen. It can happen. Another thing that could potentially make it maybe last longer if if they got an extraction and they got aligners. The aligners do prevent those teeth from shifting because they're holding them in place, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to shift after they're done with their treatment. So that's a possibility of maybe why it seems to me why it's crazy that I've seen somebody who got extractions done 5, 6, 7 years ago and the teeth haven't shifted at all. That could be a reason. I'm not really sure. I just know that it does happen, and I've seen it every single time, with no exception. So that's the primary reason for why you want to leave an extraction for just the last thing that you can possibly, as a last option. In other words, the dentist literally has to tell you there's no chance of saving the tooth. The tooth is completely gone. We have no choice but to extract it. So, and in those situations, then yes, you would extract it. But again, it is very important for you to get something to take the place of that tooth. Again, it could be an implant, it could be a bridge, or it could be a partial. But just something, because those things when they're there, just like I spoke in prior videos, prevent the teeth from moving. And then there are other added benefits like what I spoke about in implants. So if you want to know more about what happens to your jawbone when you get an extraction, then you could definitely look at my implant video. But that is it for today in terms of extractions. I will be talking about other things in the following episodes, as always. So in the meantime, flourish and prosper.